Hello guys, it's Sukasa. Welcome to my calm point-by-point retort to Angry Joe's deceitful garbage Elder Scrolls Online review. It's probably going to have to be broken up into a couple different parts. His review is almost 40 minutes long, so for me to go point by point, it's just going to be way too big to do it all in one video. Now, before we get started, I want to preface this by saying I've been called a fanboy by some people, and to me this is laughable. You guys go look up what a fanboy is. Look up the definition of it. It's someone who, despite all evidence to the contrary, refuses to accept and acknowledge that there's problems, or to accept, valid criticisms. I'm as far from a fanboy as you can get. It's not even funny. I try to take a larger pragmatic view in all areas of my life, really. And how I see MMOs at release, and think they should be judged, is bugs will be fixed, features will be polished, content will be added, and things will change. It's an MMO. How you have to judge it is how fast are the bugs being fixed. Well, here, they're being fixed with a lightning pace, faster than any other dev team I've seen in history be able to fix bugs. Features are being polished, they're being tweaked. They've just released a huge long list of features they plan on adding and tweaking and reworking. Content, you have to see how much is there in the game. Well, there's a crap ton of it here. There's no lack of content whatsoever. And the first content patch is right around the corner. It's already on the public test server. They're adding more. I mean, things are changing. What you have to look at a release MMO is its core mechanics, things that can't be changed, really. And are those solid? Well, here in Elder Scrolls Online, yeah, I think they are. So, let's get started going point by point with Angry Joe's BS review. Angry Joe's review is like playing pretend. Let's pretend that the bugs he shows were still present in the game when he released the review. Let's pretend that this was supposed to be a sandbox MMO but it didn't turn out to be. Let's pretend that we're watching an unbiased, factual, and objective review. Well, that's all bullshit. The nagging fact is that this is the best possible MMO extension of Elder Scrolls that could have possibly been done. It's both the least disappointing MMO released and the least disappointing Elder Scrolls game I've played in almost 10 years. And it truly does feel like an Elder Scrolls MMO. It's got the look and the soul of Elder Scrolls at its core. No player housing, it's planned for down the road. No crime and thievery system? The Thieves Guild is coming. They've said that before release and stated it again just the other day as an upcoming feature in a content patch, along with the Dark Brotherhood and a crap ton of other stuff. Yet Joe fails to mention any of that, and gives us very little in his review to make you believe that this was the best he could do for us. I mean, this is how I feel about his review, okay? You ready? Yes, the game is set nearly 1,000 years before Skyrim. That's actually the first factual thing he said. But everyone can't be a superhero. It would and always does ruin MMO plot points when that's the case. I mean, I'm a superhero and you're a superhero and I'm an emperor and you're an emperor. Fuck that. That doesn't ever make any sense when MMOs do that. That's one of the downsides of MMOs, and I'm so glad they have not gone that route. To be the emperor, you have to be the best PvPer in your campaign. That's how you get crowned the emperor, and that's the right way to do it. The Imperial race thing is a moot point. If you really care that much, and are that big of a fan, why didn't you get the Collector's Edition? I mean, really. Not to mention, it's not a unique or different looking race like Argonian or Khajiit. They're just normal looking humans. Really, there's two valid ways I see of looking at this. Cosmetically, and mechanically, statistic-wise. Power gamer sort of looking at it. If you are more casual and the cosmetic way of looking at it, and you just want to look like a normal human like my character does, guess what? The Bretons do. The Bretons look just like the Imperials. They look like normal humans, so you can just be a Breton. You don't have to pay for that privilege. And the stat-wise, the racial bonuses that they get, first off, the racial bonuses are trivial. They're not make or break to a character. And secondly, the orcs get just as good, if not better, race stats than that of the Imperial. And in a couple of the instances, like the extra health and stamina stuff, the orc gets the exact same thing. There's only one difference between the orc and the Imperial, and I think that the orc is arguably better than the Imperial stat-wise. So, again, a totally moot point. And then he goes on complaining about $60. Give me a break. All high-quality AAA titles are $60. All of them. Even Guild Wars 2 was $60 at release. Yeah, the game he gave such a glowing review about, that was $60 too. He didn't fucking complain about it there. And in being, sub-based is a huge plus in my book. It keeps TARs, spammers, and BRs down. It just does. You can't get as high of a quality product out of a free game. You just can't. It's just not possible. So, I'm glad it's sub-based, honestly. The horse complaint is totally retarded. I'll get into that in a minute. But then he goes on to out-and-out lie. He bundles in the whole play any race and any alliance thing with the extra $20 version, and that is an out-and-out lie. It was part of the Explorer Pack, which was added to the base $60 version of the game. It was a pre-order bonus, but you can still get it right now by buying the game retail. If you went to Walmart or Target or any other retail locations and bought the base $60 game retail, it comes with the Explorer Pack and the ability to make any race and any alliance. So he out and out lied there. And yeah, the game is jam-packed with content, but it's of the highest quality content in an MMO. Painfully average is the last thing I'd call it. It's not boring at all. It's immersive and engrossing in ways that other games of the genre can only dream of being. And there's so many wow moments throughout. He's full of shit there. So many of the fights are frantic and epic battles where you're holding on for dear life, hoping you can finish it off in time. It's great. And it's true to its license, down to its core. It is a bar-setting game for the MMO genre in every way, from its fluid, non-tab target combat, where positioning matters, its engrossing story. For every single quest, even BS little side quests, they give you a point and a purpose and a reason to what you're doing. And the world changes around you as you progress the story. More on that in a sec. But it's also got proper DAOC style open PvP zone. No BS 10v10 instance PvP crap. In my opinion, instance PvP is the worst thing that's ever been added to the MMO genre. And I'm so glad a major game has finally stood up and said, no, fuck that. We're going back to the old school, open, massive battles like DAOC. Now, I've seen lots of wow moments with the game. I really have, from my perspective and the alliance I've gone with. But without giving anything with the story away, one thing that always gives a wow moment to me is how my actions, as I progress the story, influence the world around me. This is so cool and immersive, and something that no other MMO, to my experience or knowledge, has been able to pull off. Now, without giving anything away, this whole city here was completely overrun. We had to come in and liberate it. It was just totally overrun with enemies and monsters, and I had to sneak in and fight my way through and go into the keep over there and defeat the big bad guy and rescue the townsfolk. When I come back out, the whole city has changed. I've actually driven out the enemies. There's no more enemies here now. And there's friendlies all over the place. And there's villagers over there getting back to their daily routines now that I've saved them. That is so immersive and so cool. In any other game, you fight your way through and you go kill the bad guy, and then you come out and there's still monsters everywhere, there's still bad guys everywhere. You don't feel connected. You haven't done anything. You haven't accomplished anything in other games. You come back later, and there's still guys there. You don't feel like you've actually done anything. It sucks. And that's just the way every other MMO is, except for this one. It is revolutionary, and I just have such a wow moment every time it happens. It's so immersive and so awesome. Requiring a card to be set along with the account is standard practice for the industry. It's not the exception. I literally cannot count how many games I've had to do that with in the past. And to even bring it up smacks of dishonesty to me. Playing the game over these last few weeks, you will not be able to shake the feeling that they had a great, productive beta that ended and left them in a position to be as ready for release as anyone could have been. They've objectively had the fewest issues at launch, and the relatively least bugged, smoothest, and most stable launch in MMO history. I can say that without a drop of hyperbole. I've played almost every major MMO release since UO, and this has had nowhere near the amount of issues that other games have. Joe and others clearly did not play WoW at release. That game was horribly bugged. Server crashes all the time, constantly. horribly bugged quest that blocked your progression. You weren't able to do anything else. You were just stuck. The dungeons and raids were completely broken. It took them months to fix the game. I honestly don't know how the game didn't die on the vine and wither. I literally don't know how it got so popular, because it just had such an atrocious launch. So, yeah, I got up at 6 a.m. on the first day of pre-release to get my character names and play all day. I was fully expecting to run into horribly bugged quests that blocked my progress. I was fully expecting server crashes. I did not expect to be able to play most of the time. But yet, my mind was blown completely because I was able to play the entire time. The entire play session I was able to play all day long. And yes, I did run into a few bug quests here and there, but they never blocked my progress. It was always like, well, fuck, this sucks, but, you know, I'll just have to go and do one of these other quests I have, of which there were many. And then, you know, 2 days later, they had a patch that fixed it all, and I was able to go back and knock those quests out. So, yeah, this whole bit of his review is very disingenuous. I honestly have never had that falling through the world bug, and I've played over 200 hours. My slash played time is 10 days. I've honestly never had it happen to me once. But I do know a lot of people who have had it happen to. I've seen it happen to people. It was a very real problem. But it's happening a lot less now, and since patch 6 the other day, I have not heard one person say that it has happened to them. Although I would not be surprised if a small percentage of people were still having it happen, but it's not a pervasive problem anymore. And the whole thing with the slow loading, that was fucking fixed a week before his review was posted. That is BS. There's no slow loading. If you're getting slow loading now at this point, it's because your computer sucks or your connection sucks. The loading is not slow anymore. That bugged quest that he showed with the missing shard or whatever, that could have been fixed in 20 seconds or less by logging out to the character selection screen and logging back in. It was just a desync, and what that means is that in most MMOs, all MMOs actually at release, when you get a bug, the go-to to fix that bug is to close the game and restart the client. And 9 times out of 10 that's going to fix your bug. The difference here though is, because the bugs like that were just a desync issue, you didn't have to close the client completely. All you do is log out to character selection and log back in, and the item would then be there. This is something they've been working very hard on fixing. The first, 4 patches were devoted heavily to fixing these sorts of things, and they have. It is not a pervasive problem anymore. It happens very rarely. I personally have not seen it happen in a week, week and a half, almost 2 weeks. So it is not a pervasive issue anymore. And the game does not crash so often. That footage is clearly from beta or pre-release. The game is not an unstable crash fest at all. In over 10 days of played time, over 200 hours, I have only had the game crash twice. It is a rarity to have that happen. Beyond that, you have no business complaining about the stability and crashing in a game when in the first week you are running 5 to 6 or more mods. I could visibly see 5 or 6 mods on his screen that he was running. To be using that many mods that changed the way the game files work this early in the development cycle of the game is just tard-tastic, and is obviously, it's gonna fucking have a higher chance to crash when you're doing shit like that. That's just so stupid. Oh, I take particular disgust with the next part where he talks about the duping. This is just an absurd obscenity, an obscenity, if you will, that is just offensive to common sense to insinuate that the devs didn't care about the duping because they were money grubbing. That is so fucking asinine. Oh my god. The dupe was fixed the day that it was found out. It was immediately disabled. Now, here's something that I really gotta give him props to. The system and the game mechanics of the mega server and everything has allowed them to do something that other MMOs would not have been able to do. In another MMO, any other MMO I can think of really, they would have had to have just shut off the servers completely. They would have had to shut it all down for 12 to 15 hours while the coders worked on coding in the patch to fix the dupe. Here instead, though, they didn't have to shut the server down because of the game mechanics. They allowed them to disable the one game system that the people were using to dupe with. That was the guild banks. They didn't have to shut the server down. Everyone was still able to play and level and do everything else. They just weren't able to access the guild bank because, you know, the devs said, well, that's what they're using to dupe with, and we're going to shut that down. They did, and so it stopped the duping immediately. Everyone was still able to go about and play the game, though, while it took, you know, them a few hours for the coders to code the patch to then, you know, fix the issue to be able to reactivate the guild bank. I gotta give them huge props for that. That is a great system that enabled them to do that. And the dupe was fixed within, you know, that day, after like 12 hours, however long it took the coders to come up with a verified, you know, tested fix for it. They took servers down, they patched it, they brought the servers back up, and the dupe was done. That was it, and there was no more duping. The worst offenders were banned. People that were doing the duping got permanently banned. They lost their fucking accounts, as they should have. The duped things were deleted. It did not affect the economy at all. That is an out-and-out fucking lie. It is a complete lie. It did not affect the economy one bit. A good way to judge the economy, I think, is using in-game items like the crafting motifs that enable you to craft in the style of Daedric and Ancient Elf and stuff like that. These are rare things that only come from high-level drops, and they were selling for 18,000 before the dupe, and after the dupe, they were still selling for 18,000. The economy was not affected at all. Prices on absolutely nothing went up after this dupe. It was shut down immediately, and the devs were fucking on top of it. I gotta give them huge props for that. So, I think this is a good wrapping up spot, though. It's getting dark and rainy and nasty in this. I'm gonna take a break for a minute, and rest my voice, and I will be back hopefully when it's daylight, and we will continue along with this point by point, showing just the facts of the matter here. I've got some more footage I'm going to splice in, so I hope you found part 1 here enlightening. Stick around for part 2. Thumbs up, subscribe for more. Until next time, have a good one.